Rex Irwin and Catherine Connolly are the directors of Mind Matters and the founders of a powerful body of work called NeuroCoding. Using practical, proven cutting-edge mind tools and the latest evidence-based neuroscience, NeuroCoding allows people to recode and rewire their brain to achieve extraordinary results. Rex and Catherine have worked with over 7,000 people over the last 20 years throughout Australia, New Zealand, England, USA, Singapore, Thailand and Indonesia. Their clients have included CEOs, barristers, neurosurgeons, SAS soldiers, business owners, athletes, children, housewives, actors, corporates, refugees, Zen monks and some of Australia's wealthiest business leaders. They have worked with top companies such as Telstra, Australia Post, Conrad Jupiters, Queensland Rail, Flight Centre, Queensland Tourism, Nokia, Brisbane City Council, Wright Property, Trisco Foods, Phonebox, Lifeline and more. Rex and Catherine have been interviewed and featured on Bali TV, Fox, ABC, NBC, 2UE, 4BC, the Sydney Daily Telegraph and more.
So welcome. This evening we're going to take a look at neurocoding and how the brain works in relation to goals, the neuro need for focus, and the 4 neurocode foundations that allow you to build success. You'll have an opportunity to work on your goal and to add questions and comments through the question bar on your webinar scan. And also, we'll finish up with a neurocode brain training for success. So one of the things that is really useful to notice, as many scientists have stated, that the big human brain can be incredibly unstable. And we're going to discuss tonight how to stabilise our way of thinking to be more in control and aligned with the goals we want to achieve.
The mechanism of the brain, way of understanding and creating its world, our idea of the type of world each of us would like to create. And the way the brain codes that information is a science in itself, and yet can be used by all of us once we understand it. Just as a pilot learns to fly a plane, doesn't need to build the plane. An engineer, to be able to do that, can fly very competently once understanding the basics of aeronautics and flying. The human brain is also an incredible piece of engineering that is marvelous, and each of you has one. So this machine operates in the world of patterns. It creates patterns, and we're going to explore that this evening as we're going to explore the sense of its, Catherine mentioned, instability. Without understanding the nature of this mechanism, with all the beautiful intentions in the world, this machine can be incredibly unstable. And we'd like to explore more about how that works and how to stabilize it to get the best results.
So even though the brain can be unstable, there are a number of principles upon which it works. As a pattern-making machine, it will grab information about whatever catches its attention and then create patterns according to these. And that becomes our experiences. So some of the principles are that habituation. If we repeat a pattern often enough, it becomes hardwired into our neurological structure. And this, over time, it becomes so effective, can be hardwired to the level of DNA. Our mind likes to operate for efficiency, so that all our cognitive biological operations are wanting to reduce the cognitive load, to make things flow and create less effort for our operation in the world. Focus is an enormously important part. The mind doesn't know the difference between will and imagine, and will create according to where our attention at an unconscious level is focused. So where our attention goes makes a difference to the types of problems it's trying to solve. And of course, neuroplasticity. The mind-brain is highly flexible and can change operation and function given the appropriate context and set of tools to help it do so. So we're going to explore what does that mean for you. As we focus our awareness, we're able to repeatedly create what it is we're focusing upon, and that brings different experiences into our lives. We do what is familiar, so something needs to be made familiar over time through practice. The mind works well when it's in alignment. That means the conscious and unconscious. We've got all our beliefs, strategies, ways of thinking working in one direction. And we create effective decision makings when we're in a state of comfort, relaxation, because our decision making processes, we need to be in a relaxed mode for that to occur properly. Creating congruence around our beliefs and values and having absolute clarity and tapping into the patterns of our creativity allows us to create goals and a life that we want to live. So that's some of the stuff we're going to explore a little bit more tonight, and understanding then through this, what does that mean in terms of you achieving and creating and designing a life you want to live.
Even though it's a somewhat masculine metaphor, the quadcopter, little helicopter, is a great example of an inherently unstable piece of technology. Unless certain things are in place, a quadcopter has to have placed receptors that are there for it to track and guide its direction and its ability. Once, for those of you that have seen this incredible technology utilised to the max, its incredible ability to perform the most extraordinarily complex functions requires these receptors to be in place. Would the neurocode work with the work of the brain? What we've discovered is there are four principal receptors, if you like, or four things, foundations that are, or neurocode foundations that are in place or need to be in place for the brain to become stable and able to be able to perform its most extraordinary ability, which is infinitely capable. The four basic principles we'll look at as we unfold this webinar.
So as we start to align our attention and decision making and planning processes with our emotional codes and understanding how the appropriate emotions allow us to achieve and think and problem solve, and all the useful resources that we have in our memory banks and how we code our memories makes a difference to our experience. There's a whole lot of foundational codes in our way of being as human beings that are part of our instinctual pan. And sometimes the instincts or the emotions are running the system where it's actually really the job of our front part of our brain, our attention and decision making, to decide and then work the other way backwards to allow the direction to be taken up by our emotion and of course our heart. The power of aligning what we desire and our love and our calmness in our heart allows a coherence between the thinking functions of our brain and therefore our focus and ability to achieve what we want. So as Rex was talking before a little bit about instability, we start to look at what helps, what are the four coordinates, if you like, that are our personal coordinates that really help ground our experience, that allows us to create actions that are aligned with exactly what we want, what we intend to achieve, so that the effects we have are all in alignment.
Surprising, perhaps surprising, that all of this is to do with goal setting. And it is. The idea of setting goals randomly because we want something to happen or we want something to turn up in our life, just a random I wish for it, I want it, is a precarious and vague way of using the technology, especially with all of the information that is turning up in our everyday lives. I imagine each of you is very aware of the types of overwhelm and busyness and things that need to be attended to in everyday life, just to get through a day, can grab quite a lot of our attention and distract us from the focus of what we really want to intend. For this to be done properly, we do need to understand, as we will in the workshop coming up in January, the technology, and understand also how to apply it to our own unique brain. Each person has a unique way of perceiving it all, even though the brain is somewhat a similar mechanism for all of us. Each of us has a unique perceptual position, and we need to be able to relate to the world we want to create in rapport with that uniqueness. So if you could just for a moment think about what it is that you would like to create in your world, and just start to allow your brain, because it can actually, and this is a very big part of what we teach, can actually operate while you're interacting, for example, with what we're talking about. You can give your brain an instruction and just suggest that you want it to pay attention to the types of things that you would like to create in the year of 2016.
So 83% of those who just responded to that poll about reaching your goals in 2015 have said no, they didn't. So there's some really interesting ways and bits of information that maybe you haven't had that can make a huge difference. As we talked about this instability and the need to have coordination to create what we want, I'm just wondering what would happen if you actually knew what those 4 foundations for success were.
I wonder what difference it would make, as you consider that, to the way you interact with the world. And some of you would be familiar with these. Some of you, it is new information. The first is intention, is a foundation. A human being without intention or direction is somewhat lost at sea. And the danger of that is that their world can become, in the areas where they're not intended, can become somewhat dysfunctional or atrophy. The area of values is incredibly important. Many organizations to assist people to elicit values, to be able to get the values that are core, the true values. There is a specific technique to get to that really foundational nature of each of us. Each of us has a different set of values, even though they can be the same as some others, but different sequences. The next one is, and this is extraordinarily wonderful new information in the last couple of years, is the 10 dimensions of wealth. 10 dimensions are the way globally a human's life is broken up into these 10 dimensions. So it's universal, and we'll look at what they are this evening. And the last one that goes together with the 4 that are the foundational nature of what the brain needs us to have in place to be able to develop consistent success are beliefs and attitudes. So what we're believing is true, and our attitude work together with our emotional nature, our psycho-emotional nature, our nervous system, and the way we see the world, the way we respond or react to the world. And that has an enormous effect, as is demonstrated here, on the intention.
If we look at the idea of our mind with the metaphor of an iceberg, we notice that majority, 90% of our thinking is more or less what's known as the unconscious or subconscious realm. And this is the driving part, the core, powerful part that most people don't necessarily pay attention to. We do often spend a lot of time on the 10%, the conscious mind, the logical area. This is very useful for making decisions and deciding what results we want, to work out, plan, problem solve, and understand some of the actions that need to be taken and plan them, schedule them, and to also understand what skills we may need to learn and bring in order to achieve the results we want. Now, a lot of goal setting is set up at that surface level. What really drives us and allows our intention to be aligned with the sort of results we want is to having a really deep connection with that subconscious driving power of our inner core, our essential nature, if you like. And often, this is what makes it very interesting, to be able to set goals and reconnect and connect to our deeper level, our core essential nature, and what we're here to do as a unique individual on the planet. It is not possible to be able to do that by asking ourselves and driving the goal setting just from our logical mind, because then we will not get the core answer that allows us to become very clear on our real intention. As we become clear on our real intention, we're able to notice who we are, how we perceive ourselves in the world, and as you can see on this iceberg, our core values, those inner motivators, inspiration, are usually most often out of awareness. We can decide from a logical perspective that this is important to us, or that's important to us, or that's our value, and yet our inner driver of values is at a much more unconscious level. And the importance of being able to elicit those and align it with our core allows us to become more congruent and therefore clear with our goals. So we're not working in one direction with our logical mind, and the part of us that's just really the one that always wins out, our unconscious mind, that core driver, is working in another direction. So aligning that is important. And of course, our beliefs, what we think is true, possible, and how we perceive ourselves and all the areas of our life to be, bringing that into alignment with then the more logical goals allows for a greater success rate and high probability, and of course inevitability over time, of achieving our goals once we reconnect and make sure those intentions and the 4 neurocodes to success and foundations are in place. So as we align all of that, we start to create a really robust goal process that allows us as an individual, unique human being to create with all of our inner and outer power towards our success.
When we look at the intention area, it links with choice. And with what Catherine's saying, the conflict, when these things aren't in place, the conflicts, and I'm sure this is familiar either with others that you know about and or your own experience, often we can be making poor choices with good intentions. So an example is a young person who makes a choice about a profession and they follow it, and the reasoning is based on the pressure of what they should be doing, based on family and the way the family believes around what they should be doing, or doing a profession because my parents did that profession, and so on, is driven by the conscious mind and the conflict within of trying to do the right thing by others and not always honouring our own core intention, our own nature, our own special gifts. When we line these up, when we line up the foundational codes, we're able to make sure that we are making decisions from an aligned place within ourselves. So this is where we're making decisions that are healthy and congruent with what we would be delighted with. When that starts to happen in our life, when we start to make those choices and the types of things start to turn up in our life, then our happiness increases, our sense of joy, our sense of well-being, our health. In fact, all the dimensions of our life are positively affected by that. When we make a decision that isn't necessarily useful because we're making it for the wrong reasons, because we haven't aligned those foundations, then we end up with resentment, with difficulty, with sadness, with struggle, with loathing our career. We might have a lot of money and be doing really well, or we might be sad, or we might be a lawyer who wanted to be an electrician, we might be a dentist who wanted to be a clown. And these are real examples, by the way. So as we look at that, there are 10 dimensions that make up a human journey in our culture and across cultures, but in different and unique ways, as you'll see. So let's have a look at those dimensions now. And each one of them needs to be honoured. Some of them are more attended because they're more important in our lives, but each needs to be honoured for the flow of our life to take place when we make a decision, that each one of them is considered in what we call ecology, or being considered because If we don't consider it, it's going to fall into conflict or be neglected in some way in our life. So if you were to just take a quick look at that and notice where most of your attention is in the way you do your life. In our culture, there is a tendency, not always, there's a tendency for career and business, professional life to be a very dominating area in our life, to the detriment of others sometimes. So as you look around, just notice where you put most of your attention.
So if you were looking at this circle as if it was a unicycle, and in the center you can see 0, meaning it hasn't been functioning very well in a particular sector, and 10 meaning I'm really, really happy with how I'm going there. It might not be where you want to be always in the future, but you're happy with how it's going. I'm wondering if you put a dot mark between 0 and 10 in your imagination on each of those and joined them up, how comfortable and in flow would your life be? I'm not sure, but many people, before they have started doing this NeuroCoding goal process, find that it would be rather uncomfortable, and some aspects of life are getting too much attention, some not enough, or there's a lack of balance, which makes it a sense of stress on the system over a period of time. Of course, in many contexts, there is a time when we need to focus very much on one aspect more than another. For example, having a new baby, or doing a startup business, or starting a new career. So there are aspects which need concentration. And there are times in life where some need more than the other. And in general, when we get the balance right for ourselves and understand our intentions for each of those areas, what's important about it, what are the values, our core deep values, and ensure that the goals we set in all of these dimensions sync with each other, then magic seems to happen. So many people over the last 2 years who've been doing the goal setting program have achieved more and far more exciting things within 12 months than they've achieved in the last 10 years. I'm wondering how interested you would be in having your 2016 hitting the sort of goals and creating the sort of experiences, excitement and inspiration for yourself that allows you to know you're getting more and more on track and creating a life you really deserve to live in congruence with your absolute heart, who you are as an individual on the planet at the moment.
The true purpose that's discovered more and more of a human life is to evolve. The attention on that Catherine's talking about, the inner sense of self, which is seen on the 10 dimensions as inner life, your relationship with yourself, which links with your values, your beliefs, your sense of I guess importance, your sense of success, your sense of worthwhileness, needs to be attended to and nurtured and taken care of for you to create a truly successful life. So what we're discovering over these 20 odd years we've been evolving this knowledge is that the attention on the inner world, the world of your sense of self, your values, your sense of being you, and the way you bring that to the world is reflected externally in the world you create. When you find happiness through evolving you, and then the things in your life as you choose them, as you evolve your idea of you and your world, be it your work, your family, your recreation, your adventure, your friendships, then your level of happiness when your creation through your goals of that external world and your internal world increases happiness, increases joy and well-being. And I would imagine all of you would agree that happiness and joy and peace and well-being and feeling achieved and feeling inspired is what's really worthwhile. And through achieving things and through our goals, through creating more or creating the world we want, the balance we want, the world of happiness and joy and well-being is really what it's all about, even in our career and our professional lives. Essentially, we're looking for happiness, we're looking for a sense of joy and feeling good about our life and feeling inspired. So through this work, we've linked being inspired to be inspired, inspiration, with creating a world through goals, and a world that's your world you live in, each of you, that is brilliant and wonderful and worth waking up in the morning to, with a sense of anticipation and joy, and going to sleep at night feeling that wonderful tiredness, having walked it out and stepped it out and taken action on the sorts of worlds you want to create. So not only the year of 2016 is what you're focusing on creating, it's what that evolves into as you create the years after that. And we found now people coming through, I think, a third generation of goal-setting workshops we're doing, are starting to create and really, really recognize a world that they love being in, the world they love working in, and relationships that are working, but especially, because it's the one we bring to everything, the relationship with ourselves.
So we're going to take a little time now to actually workshop a goal with you. So if you were to pay attention to the 10 dimensions and look at each of them, if there was something or an area you'd like to focus on, we can work through going through a process of how we might be able to set some goals for that. I understand, as we spoke about before, that we will link it as best we can over this medium to your values, and eliciting values for each individual is a really important and quite unique process that allows you to be able to feel more inspired. So as we look at the goal of this 10-dimension wheel, when we're talking inner life, as Rex mentioned, it's our sense of self and our uniqueness and who we are bringing to the world and how much attention we give to ourselves. We maybe call it our spirituality or our sense of self-nurturing, whatever it means to you. That might be an area you'd like to focus on. I'm not sure. When we're talking about contribution, it's what impact are you wanting to have in the world? How do you want the people around you, the results of what you want to give to the world, what does that look like? For some it may be through a form of charity, for some it may be time, for others it may be the type of results in long-term ripple effect of how they present and what they do in the world.
If you were to focus just for a moment on the concept of contribution impact, sometimes we look at just our giving of money or charity. It's also very, very much log on to the biblical saying that it's through giving that we truly receive. The way, when you're happy, when you're in alignment with your sense of self, your way you give you each day to who comes in contact with you. From when you're walking down the street, from when you're in a lift, how you interact in traffic jams, how you interact with colleagues, how you deal with meetings. How you give of yourself, how you listen is also a giving. So just paying attention to the world of giving and contribution, the impact you have is very significant. And just notice sometimes when we're not in a good place, we're also giving that not good place to others. And sometimes we just need to pay attention to that. The next area.
A sense of purpose, maybe our career or business. What we feel we're here to bring, what skills we can contribute in a personal fulfillment way. How is that? What would you like it to be like? How could it unfold over the next 12 months? Knowing that we often can overestimate what we can achieve in 12 months and underestimate what we can achieve in 3, but if you start the process and knowing from your true inner intention and values, how would that process unfold? When we're talking about circle of inspiration, we're talking about who are the people in your life, or what are the books you read, who are the mentors, the people who allow you, who inspire you to reach more of your potential, who are the role models. And it may be people you know that you spend time with, or it may be books you read, movies you see, or people you model, so that those inspirations can inspire you to be more in your life. TED Talks, things like that. There's all sorts of things that you can access to allow yourself to have that circle of inspiration. Adventure lifestyle. What are the sort of lifestyle you want to actually be living over the next 12 months? What sort of adventures do you want to do? Some of them might be large, some of them might be small. But what makes you have fun? Your economic life. And notice that that actually is different to business and career. For some people they're entwined, but managing your economics, your finances is different from growing your business and career. How do you grow both or each? Your health. Of course, if we don't have health or don't give it an attention, it's pretty hard to do any of the other things. Maybe it's family life, which is pretty self-explanatory. It may be family of origin, it may be your own family, it may be your aspirations for family. What sort of intimate relationships are you wanting to have? How would it look if you created agreements or invited people into that place where you can be seen and see them? What sort of friends and social aspects do you want to achieve over the next 12 months? So choose an area and just begin to make some notes for yourself. Where would you focus your attention if you were just purely doing one goal setting aspect now?
As you do reflect on that area or those areas, just notice that health is also the way you think. Healthy thinking, healthy beliefs, rather than just the healthy body, which is lots of fun to have. Looking at adventure lifestyle, research has been done that is demonstrating that people who take quality time out from their work, have increased income by up to 40% more than those that work to the bone. As we go around a circle of inspiration, we look at people who are really successful in life in all dimensions, always have mentors, always are open and ready to learn, open to change. And so the idea of change, open to new ideas, even tonight, listening to some of the things we say might be bringing up, for some of you, it might be, bringing up resistance, it might be inspiring you, it might be just, you might already think, oh, I've done this, I've read this, and there's a tendency in us when we sort of know information that's familiar to us, we tend to turn off. So would it be okay now for the exercise just to put aside your knowing, put aside your brilliance for a moment and allow the brilliance of what you already know, the information you know, to be replaced by the inspiration that you're capable of by opening up to considering a new way or a different way, or adding to the way you think that could change everything. So as you look at the 10, just notice the one you focused on.
So we're going to allow you some quiet time just to think about the area of your goal that you'd like to explore this evening. And maybe you'd like to tap some questions in or ask some questions, whatever you like. And once you've decided on the area you're going to focus on, we'll just look at this iSmart goals many of you will have seen before, but they're useful criteria to see that you actually are clear, get more clarity on what you want. And then we'll look at how that fits in with the 4 foundations. So just for a while, we'll be quiet and let you use your pen and paper. For the next 2 minutes. So you had a bit of time to think about your goals, and you can take more time, obviously, anytime you choose, because it's a really powerful thing to do. One of the things is important in goals is that at this surface level, we need to make sure that our goal is inspiring enough. Some people set goals that are so far beyond the bar that they get bored before they even start. So what would inspire you, make you feel happy or confident, satisfied or challenged, so that you really, really put yourself into it? What specifically do you want? Where, when and why do you want that? It's useful. Many people think about what they don't want anymore, and it's very, very difficult to actually achieve anything when there isn't a focus about what you do want, because we cannot buy a not coffee. We actually need to know what we need to know to focus the brain onto what we want. How will you know you achieve it? Some people are so busy achieving their goals and mounting them up and ticking the boxes that they never take time to actually sit back and go, wow, look at those 3 things I did. That's fantastic. And actually celebrate what they've done. So they're constantly tired and not aware that they're achieving goals even though they are. So it's useful to know what's your measuring criteria and how would you know you got it and what would you do to celebrate the fact that you've actually achieved something you put your mind to purposefully. Your goal needs to be reasonable, given your habits of the past and the other commitments, and yet inspiring enough to make you move forward. Is it challenging enough, results-driven enough? How would you know? What are the critical success factors? What's the time frame within which gives you momentum for action, yet doesn't pressurize you into procrastination? And those things are important to consider, and yes, there's some of the left brain logical things that need to be worked through, because once you clarify that, then that inspires and directionalizes the rest of your unconscious mind or brain aspects that allow you to achieve them.
If you were to consider everything around you, wherever you are, in your room, where you're positioned, and notice the things. There might be a computer, there might be a chair, there might be a painting or a picture, a mirror, a pen, a cup, a set of keys, whatever it is, just notice them. And as you do, I want you to just consider this. If you go back and track back the origin of any of those things to its absolute beginning, it was imagined. And as you consider that, it can't exist without having been imagined in the first place. And as you take that and put it wherever it works for you to sort of contemplate, think about that, and then think about the world that's external to you, and that it was all created from the origin of imagination. So if you're going to utilize your future through goal setting, wouldn't it be fun, wouldn't it be really, really useful to get the image right, to imagine it in the way you really, really want it first? So the internal world and the external world work together. The external world is an immaculate representation of your inner imagination. Now, sometimes it's very easy to get caught up and go, yeah, but other people cause that or other situations cause that. That's true, it's interacting. But the influence of the world you have and what you create and where you source it from to create the immediate world that you enjoy or sometimes not enjoy is created through your imagining. So the ability to imagine, if you look at guys like Nick Tesla, if you look at Michelangelo, I imagine when he was inspired to release David from the ruined marble, if you look at that for a moment and think, as he was standing in front of that marble or chose it, did he already know what David looked like? And was he releasing him from the stone? or is he just chipping away and suddenly finds a toe and then a leg and evolves it? You'll find that he imagined it immaculately. Nikola Tesla became very, very skillful at imagining things in advance, to the point, and if there are any engineers, and I know some of you are engineers, understand that Nikola Tesla designed some incredible mechanical technology in his mind, to the point where he even tested it before he created it in the physical realm, before he even actually put any metal together. So as we discovered this over the years and noticed it, the ability of each of you to utilize that mechanism is equal. So to be inspired, to be specific, to be measurable, to be aware of your goal, to be results driven and to have a time frame, to start to understand that there is a mechanism and a strategy that your brain, when it starts to recognize you using it, can come alive in a way that is absolutely magical.
So I'm just wondering, what goal have you chosen? What's the actual outcome? And I'd like you to think about that outcome and imagine experiencing it right now. Step into that future you who's experiencing whatever you've written down. And just notice as you think about that, what's important about it? Why is that so important to you? Make a note of it. And when you've got the answer to why is that so important, ask yourself that question again. And why is that so important? And then begin to think of this outcome. And then for a moment, just as if you stepped out of it, and just think, what is my core intention through having that outcome? What am I really intending to experience, see, feel, enjoy, think, know, create, attract through that specific outcome? And notice sometimes your intention, or not, may or may not be aligned with your outcome. Begin to think, if this is my intention, does that outcome allow you to meet that intention? Or do you need to alter the outcome? So sometimes we get in our own way and we stop ourselves achieving a goal because internally we've got a bit of conflict. And without asking the right questions, or having the right questions asked of us, really, is what's more about, we will continue to not be able to achieve our goals no matter how much we want it or how important it is. Our intention that we're really wanting underneath it needs to be congruent with the actual outcome. And now I'd like you to think, is that true for you? Is your intention an outcome, or do you need some work on it? And that's fine. We can help you do that. Now I'd like you to think about your outcome and intention and think about what are the potential consequences of achieving that outcome, both positive and not so useful. What are the negative ramifications of achieving that outcome? What will it stop you doing? What will it help you do? Who will it affect? What will happen if you don't achieve it? What are the good things that will happen if you don't achieve it? What are the bad things that will happen if you don't achieve it? And vice versa. And begin to notice, if you were to achieve that outcome or achieve your intention and the outcome, your goal, what would need to change? How would it need to change so that you can mitigate any potential negative consequences over time? Now, some of you are thinking maybe that it's a little bit more complicated. Some of you are thinking, oh, there may be some negative consequences come up for you that you hadn't thought about. And those sort of things are what makes us sabotage ourselves around our goals or procrastinate against us. It's when we get alignment with our own brain that we're able to allow and coordinate and integrate within ourselves that allows us to move forward far more easily. If you achieve your goal, what effects will it have? Are those quick effects okay? Where, when, and with whom? So if you're finding some beliefs, what do you believe about yourself? Who do you need to become? And how do you need to think about you, about life, about your goal in order to be able to achieve that? Have you limited yourself through some of your thinking that maybe could alter? Maybe some beliefs need to change in order to be able to create what you really want. Now, I'm not sure because I'm not actually getting any feedback from you here, but one of the things to note is that if there are some incongruence, if you've noticed some beliefs that have come up that are in your way, all of those can be changed. What beliefs do you need to have? Do you 100% believe that you can achieve this? Because it is possible, it's just getting your neurocodes in the right order for it to happen. What stopped you in the past? Are there any people in your circle of friendship or family that you hold yourself back for because of how you perceive they will think about you? I'm not sure. There's all sorts of ways people set goals and don't achieve them because of the incongruence in their own thinking, and they haven't really put the neurocodes in the right position and patterns within their mind to be able to move ahead.
Just for a moment, consider the beautiful mind's ability to time travel. That might seem a little heady for some. And as you recognize the ability of the brain to imagine into the future, to reflect on the past, or to be in the now, it's a time traveling journey that it's able to track out and have a look. The idea of you having the goals achieved and looking at the you as an idea of you in the future is an interesting exercise. A little strange for some, familiar with others. If you were to imagine your future outcome, and if you were to imagine the future you who has achieved the outcome, I just wonder what you might need to change, to alter, as you consider the you having achieved the outcome in the future, depending on the outcome. Take a look at them. Take a look at a sense of the you and the idea of your mind of what they're believing about themselves, of what they're believing about life, about their attitude, about their health. What's it like being there? What's it like waking up in the morning? What's it like going to sleep at night? What's it like being with friends? What's it like being you? So as you look at that person having what you really want, that also brings happiness. Take a look at the qualities you imagine that he or she has. And notice that for you to have it, you need to change some stuff. You need to become a little more, a little different. You might have to let go some ways of thinking that actually don't serve you anymore. You might have to let go an idea of what you thought limited you and replace it with an idea of your birthright, which is an extraordinarily, infinitely capable, extraordinary and wonderfully powerful being. If you look at some of the things that take place in interactions we've recognized and measured in the workplace or in relationships, there are certain things that create distortion. If you look at it as a heady idea of being vibrational or emotional, the distortion that takes place when the we bring or somebody else walks into our space as an idea of themselves, and they're complaining. And that complaining brings the atmosphere into a certain state. If they're criticizing others, that changes the atmosphere. If they're making excuses or justifying, if they're blaming, talking negatively about things, if they're gossiping, that it has an effect. And some would say you cannot not have an effect. But the effect of the you who is got those four foundations in place and has a really healthy sense of I supports the goals, supports the idea of the world you want to create. And as you look at the you in the future, who already now perhaps, but a you that is complementary, supportive, positive in their way of seeing possibility, inspired by change, dealing with when something turns up that is painful or difficult and how we respond to that, then that you can create an even more resilient world. So if you were to look at 3 things you will do to meet your intention for 2016, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? What are the words you're using? What are the actions? By considering, it is believed, and these statistics come from, I don't know who counts, but apparently something like 56,000 or more thoughts wander through the average human mind in the inner chat every day. So when we look at that second little egg of thoughts, that the nature of those thoughts is affecting your attention and your focus. If those thoughts are trained, which we teach, to be aligned with the intention and who you are being to have that intention come true, then it creates an energy, a resilience, an inspiration. If the words you're using are aligned with your thoughts that are supportive of brilliant outcomes, then the feelings you have come in and support that. So you feel emotionally well, happy, energized, and the actions you take are driven by great feelings and thoughts and words. So if you were to think of 3 things that you'll do, as it states on that, what do they call these things? PowerPoints. For 2016, write them down.
So as you think about your 3 things that you will actually do in 2016 and the feelings that will allow you to meet that intention, what is your intention for the year? What type of year are you intending to have? How will you be feeling? How do you need to be feeling in order to meet your goals? What sort of thoughts, words do you use? What are 3 or 4 actions that you need to undertake in order to meet those intentions? And it's worthwhile, even if you don't have all the answers now, to allow your mind to ponder that. Because your reality up to now is like the radar spotlight of your mind. How you've been thinking, feeling, talking, experiencing, acting, behaving up until now is where your attention has been going. And as you get clarity on what your intention is for the future, then you can put your attentional activation system, that part of your brain which activates attention, onto a bigger potentiality. Because all potential and possible realities of experiences that you haven't had up until now exist outside your current spotlight of your mind, outside of the way you've been thinking and believing up until now. So in order to create something new, we need to be able to get clear focus. So that mechanism of your mind, your brain, that gets clear on what it is you intend, can activate its attentional system to go to work outside of your awareness and start problem solving. Start finding ways, people, things, synchronicities that are in line with the possibility that already exists for you, that you just need to align yourself to. Now that may sound airy and fluffy, but at a reality level, it's creating the internal neurological structures within your own brain that allow you to perceive from different aspects, that allow you to become the sort of person through how you do yourself, how you live, think, move, that opens up you to alignment with the possibility that actually exists that you want to attract to yourself. How do you switch your attention through that focus and being able to maintain your attention on your intention regardless of what's going on around you? If a plane is flying from here to New York, its intention stays the same. It's to land at JFK or whichever airport they want to go. That's the intention. And it will adjust itself by paying attention to that intention, to every little obstacle, breeze, winds, change in conditions along the way. And the intention remains the same. The adjustments through having attention happen in a way that allow you to arrive at your destination. So if your intention for 2016 is to be happy, healthy, have a wonderful time, and experience more of who you are and express more of yourself in the world, or whatever it may be, it doesn't really matter. Then as we begin to look at the purpose of that and what the core values are that support that, and the beliefs you need to be able to uphold and put into place, and then ensure the 10 dimensions of your life are able to flow in a way that meets your intention, you will find an incredible and surprising amount of wonder and inspiration within yourself, and all sorts of curious things start to happen that you couldn't have planned if you tried. But your unconscious mind, given the right focus and the right NeuroCode foundations for success, unfolds it. And yes, there are actions to be taken, and they will be guided by the right intention in the right manner, because often too many people have set really great goals and not necessarily linked them to their core values. They're linking them to what they think are their values rather than their true personal values. Or they have great beliefs that allow them to achieve, but they're not paying enough attention to the 10 dimensions. So while one goal may be achieved extraordinarily well, if all of those 4 foundations aren't put in place correctly, then something else often goes a bit astray, and it's very distressing. So that doesn't need to happen.
An example of this is where somebody makes a decision based on a desire to increase, for example, their income. So they haven't understood the 10 dimensions, they haven't understood how to honour their core values, how to work with them. And so an opportunity comes along, a headhunter comes along, and somebody says, oh look, there's $1 million position or an $800,000 position or whatever it is, a big position for you. I think you're perfect for it. And suddenly we look at that and get incredibly excited and see all the things that could do to influence, but we haven't checked the effect it'll have. We just go, yeah, this is great, it's awesome, we'll have all this money, we can do this, we can do that. And suddenly, a few months later or a year later, we're in a hotel. And it's a Sunday, and it's overlooking Central Park in New York. And we're looking out there, and we look down because we see the families there, and we see a family walking by, and the mum and dad and the kids and the dog. They're walking along, and they're going to the local the guy making hamburgers, and they start to get a feeling as they watch this of deep sadness, a deep feeling of regret, but they're not quite sure what's going on, but they're missing their family terribly. And all the money in the world suddenly becomes less than important when their highest value, if they would have done the work in the workshops, is family. So we're not saying we say no to the positions that are available. We say if that had been done initially, they would have looked at that and said, what effect is this going to have on my values? So what's the effect it's going to have on my family? Where am I going to be in the role to make this money turn up that's important to us? So suddenly the ecology or balance of our life is being considered at a sophisticated level that allows us to bring a harmony and flow into our life and make great decisions that everything is affected positively. So as you consider that, I wondered if you just think about your life where you might or might not have made decisions like that, and where the effect of, or might be already happening in your life, where there's a perturbation or a pain happening in an immediate area because of a decision that was made in the past. So just consider that and understand that through this work and our study over the years, we're able to help alleviate that and transform it into where it flows perfectly. And even where the itches turn up, your skill level of being able to make decisions is transformative rather than reactive. One of the things that the human brain does, just to entice you to be playful for a moment, is it interprets the world in a multi-sensory or multi-dimensional way. Not just cognitively, even though it has a wonderful cognitive ability, which some would call the left hemisphere's ability. One of the ways that we are able to build, as Nick Tesla and Michelangelo as an example, were able to use, and many, many others, and you, I imagine, in different parts of your life, is understanding that the brain needs to have you communicate to it your idea of your goal and your vision, your imagined vision, in a way that it can understand. And the way it needs to understand, and it needs to include the senses. It needs to include the cognitive, and it needs to be in a way that is alive, so that the feelings and emotions work synaptically, or the neuro pathways in the brain are able to transfer the information throughout the beautiful cellular memory and the information pathways of our neurology to bring it alive in the internal representation. Now, I know that that could possibly sound a little fluffy, a little heady, and yet it's incredibly scientific. And it's the way the brain actually works. And the more we discover the brain is not just a cognitive mechanism, and understand that it's an interactive, holistic mechanism, that we can start to really utilize it in a way that it was designed for, and we can start to create lives that are thrilling and really, really wonderful to enjoy. And even when there are challenges and problems in our lives, that we're able to overcome them from this place of creating and imagining a world that is alive. So I'm going to talk to you in a certain way. I can't ask your permission because I can't talk to you right now. So I'm going to trust that you trust us enough to be able to listen to what I say. And so what I want you to do is to sit back comfortably, and I'm going to talk to you for just a few minutes before we allow you to go into your lives. And I'm going to talk to you in a way that is multi-sensory. that it's a way the brain is designed to relate. So if you were to get comfortable now, some of you know this very, very well, and some of you it's very new to you. So please feel comfortable and safe. There's an idea in the future, wherever you've placed it, that has you manifesting and realizing the types of outcomes that you have imagined is the world that you would be richly tantalized by. A world that would make you feel good about yourself, right through to the core of you, to have the feelings of achievement and success and abundance. A colourful world that is filled like a kaleidoscope with the formation of a life over 216 and further, wherever you wish to choose to influence your life, in careers, in the 10 dimensions, in your money, in relationships, in having or finding relationships, wherever it is for you, increasing your economic performance, increasing your adventure lifestyle, bringing your world into balance, imagining you out in the future now, where you can imagine you having all of that in place, or even a part of it, or even just the idea of it if you're not sure really what you want to create yet. And imagining yourself being there and embodying as you sit comfortably, embodying the idea of you having that, what you're saying to yourself, even the temperature of your skin, where the good feelings take place, butterflies, a sense of warmth, a sense of achievement, wherever you put that in your body, where you feel exhilarated or pleased, satisfied, that you have accomplished what you want, and that you can recognize it and celebrate it, that you're there. I want you to imagine now picking up a glass of something you love, drinking, like a glass of champagne, or something you would celebrate, or shaking hands, or just leaping in the air because you've done it. And as you imagine that, I want you to allow yourself to congratulate yourself, because you deserve it. It's your birthright to create a world that is designed to be fulfilling, to have a positive effect on others, to be filled with health and happiness, to be exhilarating, adventure-filled, satisfying, pleasing to the eye. Whatever it is that you have in your imagination, I want you to imagine now as you close your eyes and intently, like a little child did, imagine like Christmas coming, what's under the tree, and then going and opening it and seeing, feeling, listening to the rustling of the paper as you open the package of what you dreamed, imagined, and created. Now. And as you allow that to take place, we'd like to thank you for being with us for an hour and a half. And we're going to hand you over to Michael Brook to give you some information. And we look forward to seeing those of you that join us in the workshop on the 30th and 31st of January and later in the year to create the world that you deserve. So have a beautiful evening.
So thank you very much. And just for you to have a little bit of information before Michael gives you some more, the goal setting mastery is basically 3 days, 2 days, or one for level 1 people who haven't done it before. We do a weekend where we really take the proven formula and put you through the paces to unlock roadblocks, get you on task, and be able to feel really clear and comfortable about your goals and where you're heading and what you're going to achieve. As part of the weekend process, we start to allow you to more or less hardwire your goals into neurology, to create new internal patterns for yourself that allow you to become the person who will easily achieve that, and discover the action steps and go through the process of getting clear and alignment. So that will continue to be supported over a period of time where you get intermittent checkups and ideas and things to do. And then a few months down the track, we come back in together as a group, because it's become very supportive of each other's goal, and that energy together exacerbates and magnifies your goals for each other. We check into how you're going and clear any blocks or confusions that may have arisen, and set up a really high performance neuro state that allow you to continue to move forward and to lock in those neurocodes for your success. And what we've found over the last 2 years, that people's successes have expanded beyond what their dreams were to start with. And that's a really interesting and wonderful thing to experience. So thank you for your attention this evening, and we do hope to see some of you soon.
Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight. And if you want to get some more information on what previous participants have said, go to the mindmattersinstitute.com website. If I've got it open for you here. If you go to mindmattersinstitute.com, and we've got a whole of information there. There's a free gift for you to download if you like. There's all of the previous testimonials of people that have attended our courses. It will be a fantastic thing for you to do the goal setting workshop. Go to the programs pull down menu and open up the goal setting workshop, and there's the information there about the dates, and there's an online booking, so you can book your place online. Alternatively, if you want to secure your place, 1300 887 286 to have the best year ever. The workshop dates, once again, mindmattersinstitute.com, NeuroCoding Goals Workshop for the Goal Setting Workshop on the 30th and 31st of January. A lot out of the webinar, and I'm just about to end the webinar, so thank you very much for attending, guys.